And now, for your objection panel, please welcome your panel host, Easton Padden, and panelists, Anthony Amaker, Mohammed Raja, Daniel White, Olivia White, Dylan Priest, and Lauren Garza.
All right, guys, you ready? Mic cleared, hot, sweet. All right, so at a sales convention, I feel like, hey, appreciate you guys, you're awesome. We are at a sales convention, so I feel like a great thing to cover next is some like awesome sales stuff that you can actually apply. So I'm very fortunate. We're gonna run through an entire panel of objections with you guys. And as you heard earlier, a lot of that comes from pre-framing and setting up your stuff so you don't get them. So I'm gonna have all of these awesome people. They sell a lot of insurance, by the way, and are very good at this stuff. So if you're not a huge note taker, this would be like one that I would probably recommend trying to find like 1 or 2 takeaways that fit you, because this is literally the sauce. So Anthony, I'm gonna have you kick us off. What is your biggest month, biggest year that you've ever had since you've been here?
Yeah, biggest month is 65,000. Biggest year is 493,000.
And 4-time Hall of Fame producer, by the way. You can give it up for that. That's insane. All right, so you run a lot of mortgage protection style appointments, you know, new, age, old, all that stuff. And a huge one that we get is, hey, dude, I'm gonna do the whole house, or I'm not doing anything at all.
Right.
So can you explain, like, when you hear that, how you handle it in your mind and what you think that they really mean, and then kind of how you overcome and close?
Cool. So if that objection comes up, to me, you didn't set up the appointment properly, right? And this is one that it's much easier to prevent than it is to overcome, right? So before I even show options, I'm kind of telling the client, hey, there's a couple ways that we can do this mortgage protection plan, right? One way we can do it is we can pay off the entire house, right? But typically what I see is once you get over the age of about 55 or 60, I mean, obviously, just due to your age, these plans are going to be a lot more expensive, right? And when you pass away, the bank doesn't necessarily care to have the whole house paid off, right? I mean, you can do it, but what they really care about is having that mortgage payment every single month. So, you know, the second way you can do this is you can do what's called an equity protection plan, okay? It's going to cover your loan for maybe an extended period of time to give your family time to come up with a plan, right? Because the last thing you want to have happen is, you know, you pass away, they don't have a way to cover the mortgage, and then all of a sudden they risk foreclosing or losing the home. And so just really building value in time will prevent them from, well, I just want the whole house paid off. If they do say it, I just say, hey, look, you know, obviously, you know, getting a plan that pays off the entire house when you're 75 years old would be another mortgage payment, right? Nobody does that in your situation. Kind of put them in that herd of like, hey, nobody does that. Now they don't want to do it anymore, and just build value in the time.
So the 2 core is essentially like, hey, our goal is to protect the payments on the house over an extended period of time. And then if they have equity in their home, you can tie that value into like, hey, we can do a smaller chunk or like a long-term permanent type deal. And you get to preserve the equity and make the payment. So that's kind of like how you're wrapping the value in that sale.
Exactly. And a lot of these people, you know, they're older, maybe they're single, their kids don't even live at the home anymore. They probably just sell the house anyway. So it doesn't make sense to get a plan that pays off the entire home when they're not even going to keep it. They're literally just going to turn around and sell it. So why not get something maybe 20, 30,000 that's going to cover the loan for a couple years or a year, give them time to, you know, gather the belongings, figure out what they're going to do, and then whenever they do sell the home, they're going to cash in all that equity. Right.
Okay, and then second one, really quick, like, hey, do I have to do this for my house?
Yeah, perfect. Let's want to role play it real quick.
Yeah. All right, and is this something that I have to do?
Yeah. So Easton, did they go over this with you at closing when you signed all that paperwork?
No.
No? Okay, no problem at all. So basically the way this works is when you get a mortgage, the bank places a lien on the property. Okay, all that means is that if, God forbid, you got severely sick, disabled, or even passed away, and you or your family couldn't cover the loan, they can take the house back, right? So with that said, sorry.
That's all right. So basically, I would be at risk to lose the house if I couldn't make the payments.
Yeah, exactly. So it's yours. They just leave that responsibility up to you to get that taken care of. Since they're already covered because they have that lien on the property, they leave that responsibility up to you.
Okay, got it. So you basically do a value prop, explain how it works, explain what this will actually cover for them, and then re-ask for the business.
Exactly.
Awesome. Round of applause for Ant. Thank you very much. All right, we got Mo Raja up next, fellas. All right. All right, Mo. Hey, Mo, what is your biggest year of producing?
$515,000.
$500,000 plus of insurance in a year. That is huge. All right, so you do a lot of veteran-style business. That's kind of like your guys' target market. Mm-hmm. So a huge one that you'll get for that is like, well, I kind of already got the work insurance.
Yeah, so how I go about it is I'll just say, one, I always want to be super happy about it. So I'm like, wow, that's great, Easton. I'm glad that you have that. What do you do for work?
My job is XYZ.
Perfect, that's great to hear, man. Now, you do know the one thing, kind of how those work insurance policies work, right?
No.
So, unfortunately, what happens is as soon as you leave that job, it doesn't come with you anymore. So what a lot of families do when they do have that work insurance policy is they usually want something permanent because we could both agree we're both not working until we pass, right?
Yeah, I hope not.
Yeah, I hope not too. And then I'll just continue.
Okay, got it. Okay, this is a huge one that you would bump into with this. So I want to know your mindset behind we call it the funeral home objection.
Yeah.
You know, you're kind of going through your stuff with them, and then they just give you the, well, I mean, I could just do this like at the funeral home. How do you explain and understand, make sure that you're on the same page, I guess, with the client, walking them through what they would do insurance instead?
Yeah, so the first thing is you always just want to agree with them, right? And it's like, yeah, of course, Easton, you could go that route as well. And then same thing like just did with the work insurance one, right? I'm like, but you know, the thing with that, Easton, is let's just say if you're on a 10-year payment plan and God forbid you did pass away after 1, 2, 3, maybe 5 years, then unfortunately, Sarah, the beneficiary, whoever it was, is gonna have to come out of pocket for the rest. And I'm sure you don't want that to happen, right, Easton?
Correct.
Of course. And then continue.
Okay, so it's like, hey, you can basically set up payments with the funeral home, but you die, then it's whatever you've paid into it, like that's all you have. You don't have the whole thing overnight, could leave stuff behind.
Exactly, and like we were talking about, right? I always say the one thing I could teach anybody here, so who here wants to know the secret to overcoming any objection? So once you change your mindset and the frame that you look at and view it as, it's not you against the client, it's you and him together, and you're just guiding him through it. I'm never gonna get defensive. I'm never gonna be mad at what they say. I always wanna kind of take it as, hey, this is just a conversation between me and you. Let's figure out what we need to do to kind of make you feel comfortable with this decision. That's all. That's my job. My job isn't to convince, it's just to walk you through it.
Awesome. Round of applause,
Thank you.
please. All right, Danny, the final expense machine. Anybody else run like final expense senior clients? All right, Danny, how much final expense did you write last year?
$620,000.
Dude, that's a bunch.
Mm-hmm.
So what about on the front end of your phone calls when you're handling all those objections, oh yeah, all good, I am not interested anymore. How do you loop that?
Well, a lot of times you're just saying, I'm not interested. It's not a real objection, right? There's something that's behind there. We like to call it smoke screens. When someone says they're not interested, it's usually something else. They already took care of it. They didn't like the price they saw. There was different options that came. So what I would typically say if someone's like, hey, I'm not interested, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, it's not very interesting, but did you already take care of this, or what so far has happened with this request? Just like he said right here, we have to reduce friction with clients, right? It's me and the client together. And so if I can really give them options, which I like to do a lot with my clients, I'm like, hey, is it this or this? Is it this or that? And then they can't even say yes or no to me because I don't want the no. Is it this or that?
So 2 questions and then like a little curiosity after.
Correct, and it comes with
Okay, huge one. We all get the fun one. Like, hey, you did an amazing job. You seem like a great dude. I need to think about it, Danny.
Yeah. So usually I need to think about it. It has to deal with trust, or they just don't like the price. So usually for my client, like, oh yeah, definitely. The carrier even needs to think about if they're going to approve you. I guess when you're talking about you need to think about it, is it just the price, or do you want to look at kind of the other options here? They're like, oh, well, blah, 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 and they'll go from there.
Awesome. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Appreciate
Round of applause for Danny. Okay, Olivia, ready?
Ready.
So, Olivia, rookie year, what was your best month, first year ever in the business?
37.
37 grand. Round of applause for Olivia, please. All right, our next three are going to do some like IUL objection handling. That's kind of their jam. They crush it. You do trucker IULs. So how do you deal with them being on the road? You know, they're like, oh, I'm driving. I'll get this to you later. Can you walk me through how you actually get them to pull over? What's your word tracks?
Yeah, so this can be kind of a tricky one. Obviously, you know, if they're driving, we don't want to distract them. But right off the bat, you're going to either get it in the beginning or in the end. So in the beginning of the call, they're just going to say, yeah, call me later, I'm driving. Perfect, I only need your ears. This is going to take a couple minutes. Start asking them as many questions as you can. Keep them on the phone for as long as you can. Once you get enough information, then you have a relationship with them. So you want to ask questions until they tell you, I need to get off the phone. People are natural-born procrastinators. No one wants to, you know, deal with their life insurance right now. But if you can get as much as you can, then, you know, you'll probably close the deal. Now, at the end, you can get it when banking. I get the objection, I can't look at my bank app right now, I'm driving. This can be uncomfortable. This is like the uncomfortable part of the job, is being assertive. So I literally will tell them, hey, can you pull over? Sometimes you can crack a joke with them. You know, you don't have the insurance yet. Don't want you to get in any accident. Why don't you pull over so we can finish this? I'll be out of your hair and we'll have it all done. 90 or 50% of the time, they are going to pull over. If you have a good relationship with them and you've built enough rapport, they're going to be like, okay, let's just get this out of the way. They'll pull over and, you know, you'll finish the deal. Now, if they don't want to pull over, of course, you know, book an appointment, but you always have to ask because you never know if you don't ask.
Okay, so you keep them on the phone and you go through your exact same process. You're building a little subtle rapport, trying to get some trust in there. And then right when they're kind of prepping to give you the objection, you're like, now is the time when I go and ask them to pull over and like, hey, I need your stuff, dude.
Right.
Okay, what about last one, spouse? Because that's got to be a big one when they're solo driving on the road.
Yeah, definitely. So obviously a lot of truckers are men. We do have some women truckers, of course, but a lot of them are men. So like Easton said, you know, we do a lot of foreshadowing. That's going to be the most important thing. So in the beginning of the call, are you married? Are you single? If they're married, do you guys make the decisions together or do you mainly make the decisions? If they say they mainly make the decisions, then, you know, you can wrap that back around. They can't really tell you that they need to talk to their spouse. Now, if they do make decisions together, you can say, hey, I know after you give them numbers, you want to say, hey, I know you said you want to talk to your wife. You know, we want to make sure that this is even an option for you. If you go talk to your wife, you know, and you end up getting declined, we just wasted both of our times. So let's do the application. You can have papers to show her. And then if you guys want to increase, decrease coverage, you can go from there. Now, most of the time, I do like to ask them, are you wanting to talk to your wife about the price or if you want it at all? Now, if it's the price, start with the lowest option. You guys have time to increase. If they want the product at all, you didn't build enough value.
Awesome. Thank you, Olivia. Round of applause, please. All right, Dylan. So Dylan, IUL machine, what is your biggest month in IUL business you've ever had?
It was April last year, 105,000 IP.
105 grand in a month. Yeah, you guys can clap. That is an insane amount. Nice work, dude. So I am 100% certain that you have bumped into, well, like, hey, this is, you know, again, amazing info. Let me talk to my kids. So how do you walk through the talking to my children, don't have a license, strange question. How do you walk through that with the clients?
So I use a process called ARPing. It's ARP, so I acknowledge them, respond, and pivot, so I can get the spotlight off of me and put it back onto them by using questions. So it'd be like, hey, tell me a little bit, totally understand wanting to talk to your kids. I would have to talk to my family and kids too, especially if they're very close with me. What about this specifically would you need to talk to them about, if you want to role play real quick?
I don't know, they're younger, they know stuff, so I just want to make sure they think it's a good decision.
Sure, totally understandable. Just curious here, how can I maybe say that you might be making a mistake without upsetting you?
I don't know.
No problem. So, do I have permission to talk to you real quick then about that?
Yeah, please.
So, when you say talk to me kids, do you think they would be opposed to you protecting them and making sure if something, God forbid, does happen to you, that they're protected and that, you know, they're taken care of in case that worst day ever?
Well, no.
Do you think they would be opposed to you, hopefully, you know, leaving them behind a lump sum of money?
No.
Great. So really, I definitely want you to talk to your kids. The next step really just to make sure you get approved first, because there's nothing really you can talk about yet because we don't know if you even qualify. So let's just go through a quick application real quick, make sure you get approved, and then we can schedule a call together with your kids so I can explain this correctly and show the illustration to you, and then we can see if it's a good fit.
Awesome. So you kind of loop around to like to discuss something with your kids, like we need to have something to have a conversation about, which means we need an offer back, which means you got to get some insurance to start, and then we can, make adjustments, answer questions after.
Correct.
Very good, dude. Thank you. Last one on your side. What about the IUL clients that they want to know, like, hey, how soon can I borrow from this wealth policy that I just took out for $100?
Yeah, just use the kids analogy. Keep it simple, right? So totally understand, wanting to pull it out within a year or two. However, you got to look at this as an investment in yourself. So most of my clients, they usually want it to last for a very long time, just like your 401k. You want it to set and forget it, so it's comfortable for you. But if you need to actually pull it out because of some kind of financial emergency, typically after the first year or two, you'll be able to access those funds depending on where your cash value is and how much you're contributing to.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Dylan. Round of applause. All right, Lauren. What is your biggest month that you've ever had here?
$93,000 at
$93,000. That is amazing. Okay, this is one that we have had some strikeout issues with prior, so I'm curious on how you handle well, Lauren, I think that I can get better returns in the marketplace. Like I might just invest into the market.
And you might, but IUL stands for Index Universal Life, and the reason you filled out that form was to mostly, in part at least, protect your family. So this is a life insurance policy that will give you a bit of returns on the money that you put in there, but this is not an investment. I don't have a license to lose you money. I can refer you to somebody that can help you lose your money, but this is a policy that will protect your family first and foremost.
That was awesome. Thank you. Okay, this is more of a credibility issue as you're going through application stuff. How do you battle the, like, I'm not trying to give you my social right now. I don't even know you, Lauren. How do you go through the social objection?
I try not to make it an objection. I get them to answer as many questions as possible: height, weight, beneficiary, occupation, driver's license, and then social, because they're getting used to a pattern of almost robotically answering the questions that I'm asking. So when it comes to the social, they're, for the most part, used to riddling off answers to me. So when it comes to that, and if I do get an objection, I don't know you, it's not comfortable, well, when you do pass away, this number has to match what's on your birth certificate. This number has to match your name as well as the person who's paying for this policy. So your bank information, your social, your name, your address all have to align. So go ahead, what's your bank account?
Okay, so this setup is like, this is like a home run sauce that if you're not doing this, this will change a lot of the objections that you get through personal information. When you're filling out that first page, what she just described, she gets all of the information from the client and then asks social last. So she builds a habit of repetitive, yes, this is me, this is my info, this is my address, bang, 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 and then what's your social? It becomes normal for them to just respond. That was a game changer for me battling that objection. So if you're not doing that yet, that was huge. Thank you so much, Lauren. Okay, thank you guys so much. Gonna get one last huge round of applause for everybody. I appreciate you all.